Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Cardboard Dragon Reviews, the video review series designed to teach you a board game as if you're sitting at the table with me, as well as to provide a review on that game in hopes of helping you decide if that game is right for you. Please like and subscribe to my channel for more board game reviews and tutorials. Today we are taking a look at No Thanks, which is a fairly simple card game for 3 to 5 players. Takes about 20 minutes to play, and the box recommends ages 13 and up, but I think younger people could play this game fairly easily. This is sort of a set collection style auction game, except the auction is not to buy cards, but rather to not have to take cards. Because the object of the game is to score the least amount of points, and cards are worth the amount of points listed on them unless you can get them in sequences. So let's go ahead and let's teach you how to play No Thanks. So I've been joined at the table by Darwin here, and Doom Guy has also joined us. Luckily he's left his weapons at home. But to start No Thanks, the first thing we need to do is give each player 11 of these chips. The game comes with 55 of them. You can use whatever. They're just markers. The deck is numbered 3 through 35 with no duplicates. So it's a 33 card deck then. What we need to do is get it down to 24. So we shuffle up and we randomly get rid of 9 cards, and we set them aside and we don't look at them. That's important. Okay. We put the deck in the middle, and now we need to determine a start player. So I'll go ahead and go first, and we flip over the top card. So on your turn, you have 2 things you can do. You can either take the card and any chips that are on top of the card, or you can pass. If you pass, you put a chip on the card, and then it goes to the next player, who then also has those decisions to make. Do they want to take it and all the chips that are on it, or do they want to pass? And then they would have to put a chip onto it. And it will keep going around and around like that until either A, somebody finally takes the card, or B, somebody runs out of chips, and therefore they have no chips to put on the card, and therefore they must take the card and any chips that are on that card. That's the whole game. Once the deck runs out of cards, the game is over. We tally up our points, and whoever has the lowest score, like in golf, wins the game. So how do you know what to do, what cards to take and what not to take? So again, we can see right here we have the 34. This is the second highest card in the game. This is a bad card because cards are worth the amount of points listed on them. So this card is worth 34 points. That's bad. Okay. Additionally, any chips that you have at the end of the game are worth -1 point. So it's good to have a bunch of chips at the end of the game. But you're also going to have to use them to try and pass. I don't want this card because it's so high. So I would pass. Doom Guy here doesn't want it. He would pass. Darwin would pass. And we just keep going around until somebody finally decides, well, I'm going to take this so I can have a bunch of chips left so I can pass later. Or until somebody runs out of chips. But again, if you're out of chips, then you don't have any control over your bidding, and you'll end up having to take cards that you might not want to. Now, the catch to this game is that if you can make sequences, then the points that you score are lessened. But the problem with thinking that you're going to be able to make sequences is what just happened to me right now. Some of the cards in the sequence might not be in the deck because they might have been removed at the beginning of the game. And there, actually it was in the deck. There it is right there, the 35 is what I was looking for. Okay, so let's say I had to take the 34. So it's the first turn. For some reason, I take this right off the bat. I would flip a new card, and then it would be my decision again to take the card or to pass on it. Okay. So what you're trying to do is get cards in sequences because it lessens the amount of points that you have. For instance, if I had the 34 and then later I was able to get the 33, I stick any cards I collect in front of me. Everybody can see them, but when they're in sequences, I stick them beside each other. So I have a 33-34 sequence. Sequences in this game only have to be 2 cards, and they can go as long as you need them to, as long as they're connected. So now, instead of this being worth separately 67 points, because they're in sequence, they're combined, and the lowest number in the sequence is what my true score for that sequence is. So these 2 cards together are not tallied separately, they are tallied together as a sequence of 33 points. So this right here is only worth 33 points. If I had this, for example, these are not connected. So I tally them separately. That would be 68 points. All right. But if I was then able to pick up the 34 at some point during this game, I would stack these together. And they're not added separately, they're added, not added individual, I should say, they're added together because they're in a sequence, 33, 34, 35. This entire sequence is only worth 33 points now, the lowest card in the sequence. So that's the whole game right there. That's how you play, and that's it. Once you're out of chips, if you can't lay any chips down, you have to take a card. Now, you can try and milk people. For instance, I have the 34 out, and the 35 comes up. That's the highest card in the game. People can see this, and they know that they can never lower their score. That card will always be worth 35 points because I have the card that lowers it, the 34. So even if this comes up for me, it does nothing to me. Putting this on here doesn't change anything. It makes a sequence, but it's still worth 34 points, the lowest card in the sequence. However, for other people, this card is terrible because they can never lower it. So I can try and milk them for chips by putting my chip on there because I know they definitely don't want that card. And it doesn't hurt me to take it, so I'm going to sit here and keep passing. Now, one thing I didn't mention is normally you don't see chips that people have. You hold them in your hand and hide them away from people. So by milking the chips, I'm playing a risky game of maybe somebody's going to run out of chips. But you might be able to keep track of that in your head. Probably not going to be able to. I know I can't. So I push it for a little bit. And sometimes, whatever, if they end up taking that, that's too bad for them. You can do that with the other card, like a lower card. But that's more risky because you definitely want that. And they probably don't want that either because the 33 is still really high point value. But I mean, they're more likely to take it away from you. So yeah, we keep playing until the game is over. Obviously, we keep playing until the game is over. We keep playing until the deck runs out of cards, and that signifies the end of the game. So once somebody takes the last card and there's no more cards to flip over, the game is over. So I'm just going to go ahead and flip up a couple sample end game scores here so you can see how we count points, so you make sure you know how to do that. Okay, so let's say this is my final hand here. When the game's over, these are the cards that are in front of me that I've collected. So I have sequences 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and 17, 18, 19, 20. I then have a 7 that I was trying to connect here, but I didn't get the 8, so it's by itself. And I have 2 red chips. So I look at this sequence here. The lowest number in that sequence is 17. So this whole set here is worth 17 points. Look at this sequence. The lowest number in the sequence is 9. So this whole set here is worth 9 points. And then this is by itself, no sequence. So it's just worth what's on the face value, 7 points. So 17 plus 9 is 26. Plus 7 is 33, and then I have 2 chips left over, so I subtract the number of chips I have from my score. So 33 minus 2 is 31. So I would finish this game with a score of 31 points, and if that was lower than Doom Guy and Darwin, I would win the game. And that's how you play No Thanks, so let's go ahead and get to my final thoughts. So I think this game is a good one to bring out with people who are only really used to, the standard 52 deck of cards style games, concepts aren't that dissimilar in that you're still collecting sequences and it's numbered cards. They don't do anything special. And the auction bidding, don't want to take this card thing is very simple. I mean, you have two things to do on your turn, either take the card or pass and put a chip on it. So it's very easy to teach. There's still some interesting decisions to make about whether to take cards or not take cards. And it's a quick game, like 20 minutes, even with a full set of 5 people. So it's a fun little game, but there's not a whole lot to it. So it's a light game, but I still enjoy it. So aside from it being a little white, my only real complaint about this game is that it's pretty ugly. It just doesn't look very good when you're playing it. The color scheme is, I think, pretty terrible. But at the same time, it's a very inexpensive game. You got these typical red chips that are very cheap, but whatever. I mean, the game itself is cheap, so you can't really complain about that. They don't serve any purpose other than to mark when you've passed or not. So you could use whatever. If you want to upgrade those, you can go ahead and do that. But it's a very simple game. It's very easy to teach people, even people who aren't typically gamers. So it's a 7 out of 10 for me. I quite enjoy it, but it's just a very light game. So if you're looking for something with a little more brain power, brain burning, a little more thinking to do, then I might want to look somewhere else. Or you can add this to your collection like I have for those times when you want a quick, fun, simple game to play, and especially with people who don't typically play board games. So this has been Chris from Cardboard Dragon Reviews. Go ahead and like and subscribe to my channel. That helps me out a lot for more board game reviews and tutorials. Until next time, keep your dice on the table.